What's up, boys? Just bear with me for a second. I just want to make sure everything's working properly. Let's see. It's working properly. Yep, we're good there. And I'm just live streaming on two platforms. Let me just check Kick for a second. Sorry, just bear with me. Let's check. Are we live there? Hmm. Hmm. Are we not? Sorry. Okay. Okay. All right. There we go. We are good. Now, let me just. Oh, shoot. All right. Yeah, it's just my first live stream, so I just got to figure this out a little bit, but I have the wrong logo on here. Let's see if we can just add one quickly. Um, bam. Let's just import that quickly. Comments. Perfect. Okay. Okay, everything looks like it should be good now. So, I just wanted to hop on a live stream and talk a little bit about some of the rumors that were coming out lately, um, and just get into it. So, recently, obviously, I'm sure a lot of you saw already that Desmond Bain was traded to the Orlando Magic, and really, what that signaled to the Knicks and to other teams is the Grizzlies are probably in a rebuild at this point. So if they're in a rebuild, maybe some of their other guys are available, like John Morant, possibly, or even Triple J. And for the Knicks, Triple J would be the guy that they want. And in my opinion, this is an absolutely perfect fit. Already in this report, it says the Knicks view Jaren Jackson Jr. and Towns as a dream front court pairing, which I completely agree with, but I think it extends further than that. I think he's also a dream pairing with Jalen Brunson as well. Because last year, especially in the playoffs, in the Pacers series specifically, what was the biggest issue with the Knicks? The biggest issue with the Knicks was their defense, obviously, and their defense with their starting lineup. With their starting lineup, you have Karl Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson, two guys that are not good defenders. And when you have two guys that are not good defenders in your lineup, it becomes very difficult to be a good defensive lineup, of course. Now you have some guys that can make up for it, and you have some guys that could help hide players, but it becomes very difficult. So what did the Knicks do last year, or this previous year, I guess? In the Pacers series, they decided to put in Mitchell Robinson to the starting lineup. Obviously, Mitch is a great defender. He helps out, but he has his limitations. On the defensive side of the court, he does have some limitations, although he made improvements. When he's guarding perimeter guys, he has some limitations to that. He has some possessions where he looks great, but he has other possessions where not so great. So there's limitations to that. So bringing in a guy like Triple J will help bolster that. He's a former Defensive Player of the Year. He's a guy that you can put next to Karl Anthony Towns. Towns at center, Triple J at power forward. Now all of a sudden you have a legitimate defender that can guard five positions. He can guard 1 through 5 at a very high level, and he's just another guy that can help hide both Towns and Jalen Brunson. Both of them are not good on defense, but if you have a guy like Triple J come in and he's a guy that can defend every position out there in the court, it just makes your life so much easier on that end of the court. But I think it extends further than that. I think it's more than just defense bringing in Triple J. I think it's offense as well. Because what I talked about before is the Knicks decided to bring in Mitchell Robinson to their starting lineup mid playoffs to bolster their defense. But what did that do? That inhibited their offense. It made their offense worse because Mitchell Robinson obviously doesn't have much of an offensive game. He's just a catch and lob kind of guy, has a few decent screens here and there, but for the most part, he's pretty limited offensively. So what does that mean? So what that means is now bringing in Triple J. Triple J will be able to spread the floor. So now you can play five out, give a lot more space in the paint to Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns, who loves to drive to the basket, while also at the same time helping them out on defense. I think it's a win-win on both sides of the court. I definitely think. Well, we got more news. What is this? Kings general manager. Okay. All right. Anyways, so I think it helps you out on both sides of the court. As I said, offensively and defensively. And even last year, there were some issues between, at least in the playoffs, there were some issues with Towns and Brunson playing together. It kind of just felt like you go, I go kind of situation. Now, part of that I think will just be time. I think as time goes on and they get more experience playing together, I think they're going to start to play better and better and better together. But also, I think adding a guy like Triple J just to spread the court out a little bit more, give some more space to these players is also going to help out pretty significantly. So I do think, as I said, on both sides of the court, Triple J is a huge, huge um, factor, and I think the Knicks should go for him. I definitely do. Obviously, Giannis Antetokounmpo would have been great, but it seems like he's off the board. Kevin Durant also seems like he's off the board, but even with that, I don't know. There's questions with KD. He's 37. His defense is not even that much of an upgrade over Towns, and there's still a lot of questions. Triple J, I think you can get without trading Towns, and I think you can, and I think he would just be a perfect fit with this overall core that the Knicks have right now. So yeah. So now I just wanted to quickly. Oh, what is this? Oh, this is another report. The Knicks are set to talk with Mike Brown and Taylor Jenkins. I believe Taylor Jenkins is today. Taylor Jenkins obviously was Triple J's former head coach, so a little bit of continuity there potentially if they decide to go with Taylor Jenkins. Now, I made a couple videos in the past saying that I want Johnny Bryant, which is true. I mean, I think Johnny Bryant would be a good option, but the more I think of it and the more I look into it, Taylor Jenkins might also be a good option. And also, he has that continuity. He's seen as a player's coach. And if the Knicks do decide to go with Triple J or try to trade for him, that could be another beneficial thing with that. But really, what I wanted to touch upon is this. So, this is the current Knicks roster. Some of these guys are going to be. They are going to be free agents. So not everyone on this list are going to be tradable. Like Precious Achua, I believe, will be gone. Beach Camp, I believe, is gone. Um, who else? I think McCullough is maybe in the G League this year. I'm not exactly sure. Um, but yeah, and then obviously Towns. PJ Tucker's probably gone. Watson is gone, and DeLon Wright is probably gone as well. So a question, actually, let's bring this up pretty quickly. NBA trade machine. Let's see. All right, little ad going on. We'll do that, and we'll go to where the fuck? There we go. So, what could a potential trade look like between these two sides? So, in my opinion, I think it's pretty simple. Mikal Bridges. Oh, sorry, not not Ja. Mikal Bridges for Jaren Jackson Jr. That's the trade. Now, on top of this, you can add one more player if you want. Maybe Josh Hart, but the money won't work. Maybe you throw in another guy like maybe you throw in a Tyler Kolek, or maybe you throw in um, mm, no, yeah, but this is probably what I would say. Probably a trade that I would do is Mikal Bridges for Jaren Jackson, and the Knicks also give up a Wizards first round pick that they have. They also give up maybe 2 second round picks additional and a pick swap. I think those things will be enough to get Jaren Jackson Jr. Um, I'm not sure how I add picks in this thing, um, but yeah, that's probably what I would do. And if you're able to get away with giving away less picks, obviously the Knicks already traded a lot of picks for Mikal Bridges and traded a lot of picks for some other guys as well. So if you can get away with not trading away picks, obviously you do that, or as many picks at least. But I would feel comfortable with that. Mikal Bridges, Wizards first round pick, and 2 second rounders. In my opinion, if that gets the deal done to get Jaren Jackson Jr., I do that. If the Grizzlies want a little bit more, obviously you have to talk about it more, think about it a little bit more. But at least for this point, I think that would be a good trade. And in terms of the money, obviously it's successful. This trade would work out. So so yeah, if I were the Knicks, I would do that. And it works out because both Jaren Jackson Jr. and Mikal Bridges are on contracts that are expiring soon, and they will be eligible for new contract extensions. So it kind of works out for both guys. Um, so yeah, so that would work out, and all that makes sense. Um, but yeah, what else we got here? So yes, so that's what I think could work with that, and yeah, in terms of the head coaching search, there's still a lot of guys. I don't think they have a interview scheduled yet with Johnny Bryant, but I'm sure they will do that. I think at this point, what the Knicks are probably doing is just taking their time. Yes, I know they went for Jason Kidd, they went for a bunch of other current head coaches, which, is a little bit interesting. I don't know how you expect to get a head coach from another team. It's not like they're assistants, but maybe they're doing it on purpose just to see who they're able to get into that pool to interview. And it seems like that's probably what they're doing at this point. They're just taking their time, interviewing everybody, and figuring out who they want. Obviously, I'm sure they have guys in their mind that are at the top of their list. But at this point, I think they're just taking this process a little bit slow. Yeah, because they got declined already from Ime Udoka, Jason Kidd, Chris Finch, um, and I believe the Bulls coach. Oh, Quinn Snyder as well, and the Bulls coach. So yeah, they went for a bunch of guys and got declined for all of them. I did hear there might be some hope still with Jason Kidd. I'm not too sure. If that's their top guy, it's not great because he's a head coach for another team. It's going to be very difficult to get him if you could at all. So I'm sure they have other guys in mind that they like and they really want, but they're going through the interview process and yeah, and they'll see what happens with that. So just shift over to the big screen. What's up, boys? So yeah, I mean that's the situation with the Knicks right now. Listen, there's a couple different ways you can go about this. You can definitely go for the triple J. You can definitely try to get the Giannis. You can certainly try to maybe get some other big splashes. But if I were the Knicks, my number one option would be Triple J. I think he's a perfect fit. I think that's who you go for. And if you're able to get him, do it. As I said, Mikal Bridges, Wizards pick, and maybe 2 seconds. That's an offer that I would offer to them. If they counter with something close to that, maybe you consider it. Or well, you definitely consider it. Maybe you accept it, depending on what it is. But that's what I would do. But outside of that, the Giannis, the KD, it seems like it's very unlikely for both of them at this point. And even so, it's kind of there's a risk to it. You're going to have to trade away a lot of players. You're going to break your core up completely. Yes, you're going to trade Mikal Bridges for Triple J, which is one of your core guys, but you're also getting another guy back that's arguably better and certainly a better fit for this overall lineup and this overall roster. So I definitely do think that trading Mikal for Triple J isn't too much of a risk, in my opinion. I think it makes a lot of sense. Um, but yeah. Um, let's see. We got a comment here. I love that streamer. Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Um, but yeah. Anyways, so so yeah, I mean that's kind of the situation with that. So I would go for Triple J, but if you can't get Triple J, if the Grizzlies don't want to trade him or if their asking price is just too high, then listen, I think this roster is very good. I've said it a bunch of times in videos, and I'm going to be live streaming a little bit more. And I'll continue to say it. I think the Knicks core right now is very good, to be honest. Let's quickly take a look once again. Their core is OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, Jalen Brunson, and Karl Anthony Towns. Those are your four guys that are your main players. I think that's good enough to make it to the finals. I think it's good enough to possibly even win a championship. I get it. OG Anunoby and Mikal didn't play very well in the playoffs last year, especially in the Pacers series, which is definitely a concern. But I think another year of experience playing with these guys again and playing with the New York Knicks in general for Mikal Bridges, last year was his first year, I think would certainly benefit him. And I think he'll be able to maybe play a little bit better in the playoffs this next season. But one thing that I think the Knicks should do if they don't get a Mikal Bridges is pivot and go towards a just bench guys. Get bench guys that can help you out. A huge issue last year for the Knicks was they had no bench whatsoever. And obviously, trading for some of these guys, although they are big splashes, it's probably going to decimate your bench a little bit. So if they're not able to get any of the guys that I mentioned before, get some bench guys. Try to trade for Dante DiVincenzo. Kevin Durant has been linked to the Timberwolves. If he's getting traded to the Timberwolves, um, it's probably going to need to be a three-team deal. The Knicks want DiVincenzo. Maybe you can somehow figure out a way to get DiVincenzo in a three-way deal where Katie goes to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now, I know there's been some other reports saying that they're probably not one of the top teams, so maybe that's not possible that way. But still, I would make a call to the Timberwolves, try to see if you can get Dante DiVincenzo, as I talked about a few times. I think he's a perfect fit. I think you can put him next to Brunson. He'll hit the catch and shoot three. He'll spread the court out. He can score for himself. He can even defend. He competes on the defensive side of the court. There's a lot that DiVincenzo is going to bring for you. So I do believe that bringing in DiVincenzo will be a good move, and he's not like a piece where you have to trade away so many different players for him or so many different picks for him. He's not going to be too expensive. So I think that's an option. I think also on the bench, Dennis Schroeder, he's going to be relatively cheap. He's going to be a guy that in the playoffs is going to give you 20 plus on any given night. Yes, on the defensive side, he's not great, but he'll be coming off your bench. You'll be able to put alongside him some other guys that are good defenders. Maybe you can put Mitch Robinson off the bench. Maybe you put Deuce McBride off the bench. Maybe you put some of your other good defenders off the bench or stagger his minutes with an OG Anunoby, a Mikal Bridges, some guys that are good defenders to help hide him on the defensive side of the court. I think there's a lot you can do with a Dennis Schroeder. And as I said, like there's been a lot of times during these playoffs where the Knicks just couldn't score for stretches. Imagine if they had Dennis Schroeder that can score 20, that can score 10 in a row, that can score 8 in a row, and go on these runs where he's hitting threes, hitting those mid-range shots, driving to the basket, giving you that offensive boost that you need in certain moments and in certain games. I think there is real value to Dennis Schroeder. I mean, even when you look at this previous offseason against the Knicks, Dennis Schroeder was a huge part and a huge reason for why the Detroit Pistons made it to 6 games and why they were able to have a decent amount of success against the Knicks. So I definitely do think that bringing in a guy like him would be beneficial, and there's real value to that. Other guys that the Knicks can go for, maybe you look to trade for a Denny Avdia. I know he's young, and I know maybe the Blazers don't want to move on from him, but the Blazers aren't in a great situation right now. They're not going to be a contending team right now. And maybe you can, pick up the phone and maybe you can make a deal for him. You have a guy coming off the bench that can score, facilitate, and defend a little bit as well. As just like another option to facilitate, score, as I said. And because the real issue is the Knicks just need guys coming off the bench that can score, that can facilitate. When Brunson wasn't on the court in the Pacers series, the Knicks were playing well because they had so many defensive guys on the court at the same time, and it just made it hard on the Pacers. But in general, as a general rule, when Brunson isn't out there on the court, the Knicks don't play all that well. A lot of times in the playoffs, in the Celtics series, even in the Pistons series, they play like they had their hair on fire, where they just didn't know what to do, and all of a sudden the Knicks will be up 10. When Brunson comes back in, it'll be a tie game, or maybe the Knicks will be down 2 or down 4, down 6, whatever it ends up being. But there's just a lot of situations where it just felt like Brunson needed to play 48 minutes. Now, as I said, in the Pacers series, it seemed like the Knicks were a lot more effective without Brunson at times. But it's series to series. But for the most part, against most teams, the Knicks need Brunson out there, and when he wasn't out there on the court, they did struggle a little bit, or maybe a lot of it, honestly, in the playoffs. So, yeah, I just think they need a couple bench guys. I don't think it's anything crazy. I think you can get away with just signing, one, maybe 2 guys coming off the bench. Maybe you trade for one guy, maybe you sign one guy, and that's your offseason. You sign a Dennis Schroeder, you trade for a DiVincenzo, that's your offseason. You hire Johnny Bryan, or you hire Taylor Jenkins or one of the other guys that they have faith in, but obviously it's got to be the right coach. But let's say they do pick the right coach. I think that's honestly an ideal offseason if they're able to do that. Not many changes, but at the same time, I think it's the changes that the Knicks need in order to take that next step. I don't think they're very far off from the Indiana Pacers or any other team. When you look in the Eastern Conference, there's not too many teams that scare me necessarily. Yeah, you have the Boston Celtics, but they have no Tatum, so they don't scare me all that much next season. The Cleveland Cavaliers, yes, they had a great regular season, but this is like 2 or 3 years in a row where they choked in the playoffs. I get they were injured this last year, and not necessarily like a choke, in the same way as some of the other years, but still, I just never been a believer in the Cleveland Cavaliers in the playoffs. It just seems like they choke every year, and And yeah, I'm just not too worried about them. But I'm sure they'll be playing great in the regular season. I'm sure they'll be somewhat formidable. And if the Knicks do go up against the Cavs, I'm sure that'll be a great matchup and a great series. But they're not one of those teams that scare me too much. So, yeah, you have them. You have the Philadelphia 76ers that some people are talking about. Maybe they'll get better. They have a high pick this year. Maybe Joel Embiid will be healthy. Maybe they trade away Paul George and get some other assets in return. Who knows? Maybe they can do that. I'm sure the Sixers will be better this next year, but I don't think they're going to go from a non-playoff team to, a number 2 seed and a legitimate contender and a legitimate team that can make it out of the Eastern Conference. I don't really see that, to be completely honest with you, especially considering that Embiid has never made it out of the Eastern Conference Finals, and he always seems like he's in injury trouble. But yeah, so that's what I see with them. With the Orlando Magic, they just did pick up Desmond Bane. I'm sure they'll be better. For sure, they'll be better than they were last year. And they're a nice, young, up and coming team. But still, I think they're a little bit young. I don't know if they're necessarily ready. So I don't see them as like a real contender. The only team that I would be worried about if I were the New York Knicks is the Indiana Pacers. Figure out how to beat this team. They beat you twice in a row, 2 years in a row in the playoffs. Figure it out. And as I said, I don't think there's major changes that need to be done. If you trade for a Triple J, I mean, that's a pretty big change. But if you trade for a Triple J, I think all of a sudden you're a team that could beat the Pacers. Triple J is a significant upgrade to this team. And as I said, he fits in perfectly. When you're looking for players to trade for, of course, you want talent. You want a guy that can hit shots in the clutch. You want a guy that can really help you out, of course. But the next thing after that you want is fit. And I think for Triple J, he accomplishes both of those things for you. He's a great player. He can score at a very high level. He can hit the catch and shoot shot. He can spread the court out, but also he fits in very well. He'll be a great defender next to Karl Anthony Towns or Jalen Brunson. And also on the offensive side, he'll be a great player next to both of those guys as well, just spreading the court out, giving more space in the paint for both of those players. So I definitely do think there is a lot of value to him, obviously. But even if you can't get him, as I said, and you get some bench players, the Knicks' biggest issue last year was their bench wasn't all that effective, and their offense couldn't play defense. So if you not offense, their starting lineup couldn't play defense. So if you're able to get a guy off the bench that maybe could score for you, maybe get two guys, one guy that's mostly a scorer, one guy that's can score but also can defend a little bit, all of a sudden now you solve two problems with that. You get a little bit of a bench, more formidable bench, and all of a sudden you have guys, extra guys that could defend at a very high level that you can throw in with Towns and Brunson to help take some of the load off them defensively and just help things work a little bit better. A big thing in the Pacer series was it was so hard for the Knicks to score, and then they don't score, they miss a shot, they turn it over. All of a sudden you look on the other side, Pacers have a wide open layup. That can't happen. And due to that, I think the Knicks just need to bring in a couple more guys. But if they do that, I think it'll be a big change, as well as a coaching change, a guy who is willing to make adjustments, a guy who's willing to play his bench a little bit more, to develop some of these younger players. And that's another thing. If the Knicks decide to develop some of these young guys that they drafted last year and potentially some guys they draft this year in the second round, let me just pop it up. In the second round, that's also a huge thing. I mean, some of these guys that could have promise and could have a real role on this team are already on this team, as I said. Hug Porty, he's he's a guy that could potentially be good for you next year. He's a decent passer. He's potentially a good defender. He's a good rebounder. He's super athletic. He can be that pick and lob kind of guy. He can play a similar role to Mitchell Robinson, but just add a little bit of passing, maybe a little bit less rebounding. But he can be a decent backup center for you. You just need to develop him and play him. A guy like Tyler Kolek, he can also be a decent backup point guard, scoring, facilitating. On the defensive side, he's not really there. But maybe you look to improve. Maybe, as the years progress, he looks to improve upon that. But he's another guy that can be a legitimate rotational piece. And the main guy that I think will be a good player and that I think the Knicks should play is Dadier. I think he's a guy that can spread the court out for you effectively, hit the three, do even a little bit more offensively for you on that side of the court. But even besides that, he has a great body to defend. I don't know if he's a great defender right now, but I think maybe next year he starts it, or maybe the year after that, or maybe in the years following. I think he can become a real great two-way player for you. And obviously, you would like him to get to a point where he's a great player and he provides a lot for you. But even if not, even if he's just like a 3-and-D kinda guy, or even if he's just a great, just three-point shooter and his defense is not even, like, amazing. I think that's still a legitimate role player you can have on your roster and a legitimate guy that will help add to this organization. So, yeah, I mean, that's what I see for the Knicks. I think there's a lot of things they can do this offseason, but at the same time, I don't think there's many things they need to do this offseason in order to make their team better, in order to make their team make it to the finals, take that next step. I don't think it's that much that needs to be done. Um, but yeah, but yeah, I'm gonna be trying to come on live here. I went on live yesterday with my MMA channel. Had a little bit of fun there. Talked to the fans a little bit. Here I get it. It's a little bit different. I don't really live stream all that much. This is actually my first live stream on this channel. But for this channel, I think I'm just gonna do it occasionally. Like whenever news comes out, whenever I want to hop on a live, I'm just gonna hop on, talk to you guys, maybe talk about some potential news that's coming out, some potential news that breaks, potential trades, potential signings, coaching hires. There's a lot of things that are yet to be talked about, and a lot of things that are coming up, and exciting things that are coming up this offseason for the New York Knicks that hasn't even started yet. So I'm definitely going to be hopping on here a little bit more, or really a lot more, and yeah. But anyways, for those of you who joined, I really do appreciate it. I hope you guys enjoyed the live stream. And yeah, peace out, boys. Till the next time, I'll see you guys soon. Be sure to check out uploads coming out Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, all at 2 p.m. Eastern time. Be sure to check those out. I'll be posting some shorts as well, and I'm going to be pushing a lot harder on this channel. I'm officially back. I'm going to be posting a lot. I know I took a break, but I'm going to be posting a lot on this channel once again, consistently. But anyways, peace out, boys. I hope you guys enjoyed it, this little live stream. And if there's any news breaking, I'll be sure to come back on for another live stream. But yeah, see you guys.